Welcome to another exciting episode of the World Gaming Trade Show. I am your host, Jeremy, a.k.a. your retro activist, a.k.a. your in-game boss. And this show is definitely part of the in-game boss program and Network Gaming and other variety shows. But I also have my good buddy, Brendan, here from Game Addict Podcasts. How you doing, Brendan?
It's going all right, man. Hanging back here, getting ready to talk about some pretty cool games. Just like we do every single month here on the good old show here, where we take some old games that you might have forgotten about. Maybe they've only had one entry. Maybe it was a whole series at one point.
Yeah.
But now, like where they go? All these great games. Just maybe there's only one entry, and that was it. And you're like, man, that'd be cool if we got a sequel. And the developer's like, yeah, but then we never get anything.
Right.
So what we do is that we think about ways that we can bring those games back into the modern light with some modern consoles, and we can but it's a free-for-all. We can be like, hey, man, what if we have any developer we want try to take their crack at doing a game like this? And then we start talking about different styles of gameplay we could do with them.
I like that. I like that a lot.
And
especially, going down doing research of some of the games that we talked about on the show. Brave Fencer Musashi.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about some Star Wars games like Shadow of the Empire. Just a bunch of other games. And the funny part is that some of these developers no longer exist. They got defunct.
Yeah.
And they're just sitting there collecting dust. Some of these publisher and developers have decided to move on. Some of them just didn't really made any money. And so they don't support it anymore. There's so many things. But as long as we keep talking about them and keeping them alive in some sort of way, maybe one day they will come back in a special way. And who knows who will develop them. But that's why we're here. We're here to make the show fun and talk about what developers we like to see do this. And what visions do we want this game to be that will bring it back in a new, fresh way. So these two games that we talk about today actually are really underrated game and series. And it's sad because they're good games. They just didn't make enough money. Maybe it was timing. Timing is very important in the gaming because some people release games when a mega buster game's coming out, or there's some unfortunate event that happened.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens. Mainly, to tell you the truth, I notice is most launch games for some reason don't do very well.
Yeah, you can look back to just the current generation that we're on, Killzone Shadowfall, it's like that game came out and, Killzone was a pretty big series back on the PS3, and PS2 even, with the original, built itself up, and then Shadowfall came out and maybe it kind of didn't hit the mark that it was like maybe aiming to because they're really trying to push the game out for the launch of the console. And then the company has just kind of moved on and they're doing like Horizon Zero Dawn and its sequel now, so.
Yeah, so it's interesting where these developers started out at, and then where they gone from there. Either they got bought or they end up getting bigger projects. It's crazy, and so that's why I love this show so much, because we just put these shows right on the platform for display and let everybody know about this game and talk about what we're doing here. So let's go ahead and get into the very first game. It's my pick. And the game I picked is from the developers that you've been hearing them way back in like 1992. And they have slowly been making games little by little, mainly under Sega. And this game, if you think of this group, what first game you're going to think when you hear the name Treasure? Gunstar Heroes. That is their biggest game up there. Now, they were known for other games like, Sin and Punishment. We know about that one. Guardian Heroes, which, is now trapped in the Xbox 360 era as that remake, and don't know why it's not coming to PC or some other platform, You know them for Bangayo. I mean, that was a small little game that was on the Dreamcast and whatnot. And actually, funny enough, they even managed to do a Nintendo game, Wario World, back on the GameCube. So, they were known for just really fun arcaded games and really pushing the limits of the graphics and the mayhem you could put on the console. Think about Gunstar here when you look at that game. That game was crazy. They even had a little bit of 3D work going against bosses and stuff. And they chose the Sega Genesis at the time because it could handle that game style. But I also like to say that Gunstar Hero is brought to you by McDonald's, because that was the first game they had to do to get permission to do Gunstar Hero on the Sega Genesis. So I think it's called McDonald's Treasure Land Adventures. So so good for them. But as for Gunstar Hero, I actually found out that I didn't know this was the game that they wanted to push with Konami, and then Konami wasn't really fulfilling or unwillingly committed or embrace the idea they have, so they quit and they went to go do their own thing. It almost reminded me of the Platinum incident, after Okami. Platinum didn't like where this is going. It's like, we're out. We're gonna do our own thing, And so from there, they did the first one in 93, and then the last Gunstar Hero was entry in as Gunstar Superheroes in 2005. So it has been more than a decade, almost 15 years now. I want to say 15 years. 15 years? Yeah, 15 years since we haven't had another Gunstar Hero. And that's because it just didn't sell well. I mean, the last one was on the Game Boy Advance, which the Game Boy Advance was phenomenal of pushing the graphics on that thing. Like, go back and look at that thing. Like, I didn't think the Game Boy was capable of doing that. But leave it to Treasure, the ones like, we're going to push this to the very end. They were almost like Platinum before Platinum to me in some sort of way, It's weird. But Gunstar Hero, Brendan, did you play that, and what's your thoughts on it?
All right, so yes, I did play it back in the day. I don't currently own it in my collection, unfortunately. But like when you brought that game up, I was like, all right, cool, yeah. The thing is that I had to go and watch gameplay of it because in my mind, like, it kind of morphed into some of the other side-scroller shooters and stuff like that.
Right.
Like, it almost, like, when I first thought of it, for some reason, I thought of Metal Slug first. Like, and there's some similarities there. But I went back like, oh crap, okay, no. So this one was a bit different from like Metal Slug, but I definitely see why my brain went Metal Slug when I was thinking of Gunstar Heroes.
Right. More entries for Metal Slug, so that's part of,
yeah. Which, just quick plug, go play Metal Slug. Metal Slug's fun, but this game is fun too. And I don't know how hard it was for you to come up with somebody. For me, it's as soon as we were thinking about it, is like, because here on the show, what we like to do is like, are we going to change it fundamentally and bring it, just borrow the name and make a whole new entry and have it just be like, this is an opportunity where the old games didn't sell very well, or do we cling tight to what it was and put a new game out in the series where everybody can go and pick it up from a developer who's really good at making older style retro games. And that's kind of where I went with for this one. Yeah.
So for people that don't know what really Gunstar Hero is, it's like Metal Slug, except it's more, I want to say it's more sci-fi-ish per se. And it's just straight like mayhem. Like, now Metal Slug does have some mayhem where a lot of stuff just come at you some sort of way. But I think the difference between this and Gunstar is enemies just come relentless. Like, if you stand still, they will keep coming and coming and coming. And in the fact that you are limited to, I think, four different kind of weapons. You can switch on the fly, whatever works with you. After you collect them, going through the stages. Side-scrolling, of course. 2-player co-op. And these were actually long levels that took in different acts. Like Metal Slug was more of like one act is done. Here is like one story's done. After you beat that boss, you're still going to the next thing. It was like 2 mini bosses before a big boss per se, I want to say. And so, but I always like they just try to kind of just try. It almost feel like they're trying to break the game. So this was a tough call for me because it's almost like no one else could do it but Treasure in some sort of way. So it's almost like I want to keep Treasure, but maybe work with someone else that can do it, and I picked Capcom.
Okay.
I think Capcom can work with Treasure on making this game, and I actually would keep it 2D, but I do a 2D 0.5. So what's that mean is it's more of you can connect more with the background of the game. So I would work with more of working in the forefront, but also working in the back of the game too. Kind of like if you saw like Rayman Origins. Sometimes you'll just fall in the background and you'll do a bunch of stuff, or you could do stuff where it's almost 3D effect, where stuff just comes towards you on the screen, and you connect it to those. Kind of like Castlevania, like Super Castlevania, where like the 3D stuff really popped out more, and you can interact with it in some sort of way with that FX chip per se, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to do it like that. Now the story is ridiculous. Gunstar is ridiculous. It's basically this empire is coming down. They had to defeat it. In the second one, after defeating the empire, it destroyed and became 4 moons. But a 5th moon got created. Another empire came down, and they saved Earth. Mine is we continue the story. Brand new cast, which, all the casts were named by colors. Red, blue, green, yellow. So I think I would be silly enough just to name them after a certain jewel. So I would call one like Ruby, maybe Sapphire. I don't know. Just something goofy and stupid with that. But this time, instead of an empire coming, I would love to have, and I don't know why, I thought this would be kind of cool. It's more like, do you remember Sega CD where Sonic's goal is to go up to Robotnik's, basically a planet per se in chains? You remember that, Brandon?
Sure, yeah.
So this is what I wanted. I wanted this giant moving metal planet to come, and it's going to destroy the Earth in a certain amount of days, almost like Independence Day, right? And I want the Gunstar heroes to go up there and try to destroy that whole planet. So it'll be levels, working their way up to the center of this place, and you get different regions. It's almost like its own planet. So you're going to get your deserts, all that crap. But I just wanted more into that. And as you slowly go into it, there's certain things that kind of malfunction, and so the levels start malfunction a little bit. One of my ideas I wanted was, I don't know why, this is weird for me, but I thought it'd be kind of cool if they got in an area where the stage moves like a cube. So like when you move, the stage moves in shifts as you go, as you're trying to figure out how to get out of it. I don't know. I think Treasure can think more outside the box, no pun intended in that point, what I was trying to display, but just more of a journey into destroying something more than them coming like down to you. You go to them and you're going to destroy this imaginary moving planet city. And I think Capcom can do it only because they have done arcade-ish games and they know how to really make spectacles of stuff, really big, explosive and all that stuff, especially back in the day. So yeah, I'm with Capcom doing this with Treasure. So
that's cool. Yeah, that's definitely cool. For me, when I was thinking of like old school like Sega games, and I want to try and keep it as close as you can to represent, like, even so go so far as to try and replicate the sound chip of the original, like, because the original sound, like the sound chip of the Sega Genesis, all the music had a certain vibe and tone to it.
Yeah,
it almost sounded very machine-like,
very digital sound.
Yeah, and so I want to try and keep that.
Mm-hmm.
And what I instantly thought of was the developers of Sonic Mania. Headcanon.
Okay.
Because I did not expect that to be good. Mm-hmm. There hadn't been a good Sonic game in like decades.
Believe me, man, I'm a big Sonic fan. I know the pain. Yes.
So
yes.
like because I remember like it was a hype around them doing Sonic the Hedgehog 4, right? Mm-hmm. And like I remember playing like a demo or something like for episode 1, and I was like, man, this is close, but it's not quite there, you know? And man, I'm like, man, okay, because I was pretty excited for it. And then so when Mania was coming out, I was just like, I honestly say I didn't get excited for it until I got a chance to play it, and I was blown away by how good it was. Mm-hmm. They did such a good job of replicating what we knew, plus just making it run better, making it do things that the Genesis can't do. And so what I was thinking of with a game like Gunstar Heroes, with how crazy it gets, just how much these newer consoles can just handle everything on the screen all at once. Mm-hmm. Just imagine how crazy they can make that.
Yeah.
Without any without slowdown, without anything like that. You would just it's going to be an absolute war zone on that screen. And that's exactly what I thought of. I'm like, man, that game was crazy. And if you could keep it in that same style, that would be awesome. So who would do it? And instantly I thought of Sonic Mania because of how well they did it.
Yeah, especially they were good at giving you something familiar, then flipping it over his head. So it's almost like the second part is not what you think it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can accept that for Gunstar because there's probably some ideas that could improve it. So it'd be cool to see what they did in the second half. Because like Sonic Mania, I mean, like Chemical Plant, I think the second half of that was way better than the original second act. So that's a damn good pick. That's a really, really good pick. I really like that. So
well, and it's also the fact that they haven't done a whole lot, like and really if you read into it, like it was like I'm not sure if it was them or if it was like the project lead, like they were like please Sega, trust us to do this. We want to do it. We want to do it right. Mm-hmm. And Sega, like they almost had to kind of talk Sega into it. Mm-hmm. Hey, come on, man, come on, like let us do something with Sonic, and they trusted him and they did it, and it was awesome.
It almost felt like that they had to show them a bunch of like demonstrations of the idea they had to get them to kind of feel more comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the same way they need to do that. Because I was actually looking into like who owns Gunstar Hero. And I think Treasure actually owns Gunstar Heroes. And so, but if they wanted Sega or someone else to develop that, I mean, having him come in to help out with them would be awesome. It's almost like M2 per se, right?
Yeah, well, and see, I think headcanon is their own thing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know for sure.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, I'm not going to sit here, I don't know everything there is to know about headcanon. And quite literally, I had to look up the name of the developer before we came on air. Because I'm like, because in my head, I'm like, yeah, those guys. And then we're sitting down. I'm like, who are those guys? I better make sure I know their name. But yeah, okay. So headcanon. Headcanon is an Inland Empire-based software development business founded and run by myself. So this was literally, Simon Tomley. One dude like heads up this team of dudes, and the games that they've made are Sonic Mania, Sonic Mania Plus, Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2 remastered, and then they released a Kickstarter last year for a game called Vertebreaker. You remember that one?
No, I don't.
I remember seeing the stuff for it, but I never did end up seeing anything else about it. They said on October 31st of last year, a more complete demo will be released to coincide with the launch of our Kickstarter campaign. So I haven't heard anything else about it. They haven't done a whole lot, and that's why that's another reason why I really liked the pick as well, is because it allows them to kind of grow their catalog of stuff of what they've done, and they've already proven that they have a knack for, like as you said, giving you that dose of retro and bringing something new to that style, especially like I said, with everything that we can do with these current consoles to push that. It's like trying to go, it's like when you're playing Shovel Knight, like, man, this would be a cool game to play back then. Well, you can't really do that back then,
right?
Like, it looks like you would be able to, but there's no way that a system like Super Nintendo or something could handle Shovel Knight.
Yeah, no, that's a really good pick. I really like those developers. I also would like to see what fresh ideas both sides could bring something new to it, right? Like mechs could be involved in this thing, for Gunstar, because they did use certain equipment. It's like one of my favorite levels is the one they're on these little gadgets, and it's a rail thing, and you're going against this guy that transform into different things. And I would love to see what ideas they can do that, because that's the thing about Gunstar Heroes is nothing sounds stupid. Like, weirdly enough, is that, I don't know, maybe that's just me, but like nothing's a stupid idea because that game is just ridiculous, and that's the point of it.
Well, and that's a bonus, because it literally means that the world is your oyster then for your ideas. Just like whatever you come up with, dude, is like, hey, does this, like, how does this idea sound? Well, let's see what it looks like, and let's put it, let's storyboard it out and see what we can do with it, because quite literally, like as you said, it's already, like, the gameplay's crazy, and the story is just crazy enough to match it.
Now, my question is, though, do we still stick it with only 2 players, or do we raise the stakes and move up to 4?
You could move it up to 4, especially with everything with
yeah.
the online play and everything.
So much chaos though, just so many guns and bullets flying everywhere. I probably lose myself. That's why I have to be like the brightest color, so I just know who I am. You know, give me pink, cause that sounds that'd be the like. Now I know which one is me. It's almost like the Castle Crashers. And so, okay, all right. So that's our picks for Gunstar Hero. For the people that are listening, if you got any comments, don't be afraid to leave a comment down below. Whatever you're listening to, where you're listening at, either as Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, YouTube. Just leave a comment down below. Which, by the way, our shows now are on YouTube, so definitely go there and check it out. And so with that, we'll take a break. When we come back, we're gonna go to our next game that takes us to the sky. We'll be right back. Hey, this is Jeremy, a.k.a. the in-game boss.
And this is Jerron, a.k.a. the Evil of Aku.
And I want to tell you about a show as part of the In-Game Boss program network called the In-Game Boss Podcast.
It's a podcast about fun topics and questions that challenge the listeners and each other.
And we are on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other listening services.
But don't forget to subscribe to social media, Facebook and Twitter.
So come by and enjoy the show.
Hey guys, this is Brando, and I'm the host of the Game Addicts podcast, a show where I cover the latest news in gaming and take a look back at some of gaming's best consoles, series, and games. With over 3 years of episodes in the back catalog, there's plenty of great episodes to sink your teeth into. So check out GameAddictsPodcast.com or download us on your favorite podcast platform. Into live streams? Head over to twitch.tv/GameAddictsPlay for Let's Plays and to chat along with the podcast during the live recording. Still want more? Subscribe to our YouTube channel for your one-stop shop for everything we do. So what are you waiting for? It's time to level up and check out the Game Addicts Podcast.
And welcome back to the World Gaming Trade Show. I'm Jeremy. This is Brandon. Let's get into our next game and our last game of the show. Brandon, take us away, buddy.
Okay, so my pick for for today's episode is Crimson Skies on the original Xbox. Now, I know, man, it's a really cool game. It's one of those games that has kind of been forgotten about over time. It was on the original Xbox. I believe it is backwards compatible on the Xbox One.
I think so. Yeah,
I think it is. So if you're able, so if you go on the Xbox One right now, on your store, you can buy it for $10, or better yet, hit your local retro gaming store. It should be super cheap, man. I think I bought the game for like $2 or $3. And what was really neat is that when I bought my copy of the game, it had a Microsoft Store sticker on it. Like,
how old was that?
Yeah. Okay. So,
jeez.
Like, a lot of times you'll see that, especially around Seattle and like the Washington area. And like if you go to retro gaming stores, you'll see Xbox games with this big circle sticker on it. And it's from a Microsoft store, like basically the company store, and like that's for like the employees and everything to buy from there. So I was so shocked to find it in my local area. Not only that, because it says in the picture I sent you, Microsoft company store purchase, not to be sold. In fact, it says not for resale right there on it. And it says purchased by, and you're supposed to write down your employee number. But this is blank. It's blank. It doesn't have an employee number. And I thought that was so cool. Because typically when I don't know about you, but for me, when I buy retro games, and especially in that era where you would get games from like GameStop or EB Games, they would just be plastered with stickers.
Yes.
They put 20% off, trade in, buy this, and you're lucky that you can even tell what game you're buying. So like part of my whole like buying games ritual is I would come home, I would test them. After they were tested, I would sit down, put some music on or put a podcast on or YouTube or whatever, and get my Goog on, and it would be a ritual of cleaning all my game cases. And I'd get them nice and pristine, or as good as you can, or at least get all the sticker and gunk off of it. Then I would log them into my Game My app or RF Generation, what I was using way back when. And that way they were cataloged. And then I put them on my shelf. And then I was like, all right, scratch that itch. I got it done, But there's no way in heck I'm taking that sticker off that, because that is such a cool and unique sticker, especially around Indiana where I'm living. I can't even tell you where that game came from.
So Crimson Sky, I never owned an Xbox. But Xbox has some games I want. But Crimson Sky was not one of them. Crimson Sky on the cover didn't really shout out like this looks cool. It was more of course, word of mouth that people have been talking about it over the generation, especially when I had a 360. A lot of people were very excited when they found out that, Crimson Sky was coming back. Well, not in coming back in what you thought, just more of they're just bringing it for the arcade that you can play this again, and they kind of made the multiplayer active again, so you can do your dog fighting and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, like even to now, I almost got confused with another game on the Xbox called Crimson Sea. That was a Tecmo game, and I was like, "Is this the right one?" Like, I don't know. But anyways, no, this is a huge following. It is so interesting that this game has never came back in some new format or something like that, because especially with Xbox buying so much new property and new developers, that you would think this game would come back into the table for this next generation coming about, which it fits perfect. Especially there's a lot of lately, like a lot of Sky games come out. I mean, Ace Combat is blooming. They're coming back. Star Wars now with Star Wars Squadron coming back. Like, why not bring back Crimson Skies?
Absolutely. You see, I'm right there with you, because Xbox has so many IP that they're just sitting on.
Mm-hmm.
Like you over there, like you see PlayStation and you see Nintendo cranking out these IPs, cranking out sequels. Like God of War is an old IP now. 2005 or whenever that came out. But then that newest one they came out with revamped it and breathed a whole new breath of life into it.
Mm-hmm.
So now they got a setup to where, they had the old ones, but now they're going to make sequels off of this new one. And it's going to carry that name for the next 5-10 years for making like one or two more games.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see like Nintendo making like they always crank out a new Mario, they always crank out a new Zelda. They're working on a new Metroid Prime. They're doing a lot of cool stuff. I mean, they just did a whole new Animal Crossing and it blew up everywhere.
Shout out to Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like over there at Xbox, you just have like I just see them sitting on their hands, because at some point during that 360 era, they just kind of stopped caring, and they were only doing Halo, Gears, and Forza.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had Fable, and they made 3 Fables, but then that kind of went away.
Mm-hmm.
Like you had a lot, like they own Battletoads, and we're supposedly getting a new Battletoads.
We are.
From them. Like we're rumors about a new Fable. Okay. They also own Conquer. They own Banjo-Kazooie. All like from the rare Perfect Dark, another rare property that they own.
Yeah, from buying from Rare, right? And then of course, like even at the very beginning of the Xbox era, I mean, they had a bunch of IPs just popping out of everywhere. I mean, you had Bloodwake, that was like a boat game. You had Azure, that was just like this blue guy with a staff.
Was that Mech Warrior?
Yeah, Mech Warrior.
Is that what that was called?
No. But Mech Warrior was on the Xbox, I think, at the time. I mean, heck, that cult classic game that was coming out, but then it just broke. It ended up dying out. It was a weird multiplayer game that people have been talking about. It was like big cult fiction. Had different characters. I think it was called like Dust something. I forgot. I'll have to look it up in a second. But you had those games. You had that terrible Brute Force, but that could have been turned over his head and reworked. Advent Rising.
Phantom Dust.
That's the game. Phantom Dust. Yeah.
They ended up getting a hold of Panzer Dragoon, right? Do they own Panzer Dragoon, or is that still Sega?
That's still Sega, but they were they made it for exclusive to Xbox with Orta.
Xbox with Orta. Okay, yeah. Right. Same with Shenmue. They got exclusive rights for Shenmue too.
Yeah.
Back then. So Xbox came out swinging when they first came out, man. And they had a lot of cool stuff. Crazy Taxi 3 was exclusive to Xbox.
Yeah, mainly a lot of Sega games were definitely over there. I mean, Jet Set Radio, which that's something I'm going to be talking about later on in this series. But like, their launch had a bunch of IPs. They were just trying to go big. They were like, we're just going to throw out everything. We're going to get a bunch of developers. Whatever makes it through, that's what we're going to care about. And that's what they did. But because of that, you left all these other games that did have potential. They were just not in the right hands at the time. So
yeah, well. And as I said, at some point, like Xbox was all into it because they teamed up with other developers like BioWare to bring Knights of the Old Republic. So they got an exclusive Star Wars game that was an RPG,
Yeah.
to the Xbox. You know, eventually
Yeah.
went to PC, but it was on console. If you had a PlayStation or GameCube, you were SOL there. You couldn't play it. You had to get an Xbox. And I remember I did. That's what got me to buy an Xbox in 2005. Like summer 2005, a buddy of mine's like, you need to play this Star Wars game. And he lent me his Xbox and the game just to play it. And I went out after I beat it and bought my own so I could play the second one and Jade Empire. And I was all in with the Xbox, even though I could have been in, but I was like, yeah, Xbox. I don't know. I don't like first person shooters that much. I'm not into Halo. There was more to it. And this game that we're going to talk about, Crimson Skies, it was one of those games from that era that I just feel like it came out. It's really good. But what happened? Like, where'd it go? Like, at some point, Xbox was just like, yeah, we don't care. Like, we want to be your multimedia living room system.
Can I tell you what did happen to those developers? They defunct. They're gone. Like, after that game, because these are the same developers that did all the MechWarrior games. Then they did Crimson. They did Crimson Sky. Still didn't do very well. They shriveled out, got spread out somewhere else. Now it's just sitting there in limbo. So, yeah. Sad story.
So Microsoft owns it, and they can bring it back at the drop of a hat.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, on the last episode that we did, we talked about Siphon Filter, and I kept it in house at Sony. I could have gone anywhere with it. I could have did anything else, but I decided to give a company that hadn't made that style of game a chance to prove themselves. And I'm doing the same thing here because the studio who I am going to tap on to make this, they're good at making big open world games.
Okay.
They're good at making arcade yet very tight feeling games. And that's the one thing that I remember most about playing Crimson Skies. It didn't feel like Ace Combat. It felt a little bit more like Star Fox in a way, you know? So like when I'm thinking of Star Fox feels a little bit arcadey, but I mean, it also feels tight, man. It rides that line between simulator and arcade game.
Mm-hmm.
And so the team that I'm going to say, hey guys, let's take a break from doing what you're doing. You guys are doing good. You guys do great stuff and always sells really good, but let's kind of grow the team a little bit and let's have you guys do what you do. What we're going to do is take a smaller subsidiary of you guys because you guys have over 200 people that work for you. So we could take 50 of them over here and start this over here and maybe finish it up later with some more people. And I'm talking about Playground Games.
Okay.
Playground, they've only made one series, Forza Horizon.
Mm-hmm.
And they made 4 of them. And Forza Horizon, okay, so I'm not a big race gamer at all. Like I'm not big into it. I played Need for Speed once. You know, no, I'm kidding, dude. I played the crap out of Need for Speed on the original PlayStation. But after that, I didn't really get into it. I played Forza Horizon 4 when it came out because I had Game Pass, and it came out to Game Pass day one. And I'm like, hell yeah, man! I'm a download that. And then I saw the download size. I'm playing it tomorrow. You know? But no, seriously, I played it, man, and it was awesome. I had so much fun playing that game. And I'm not the target audience. But what I really liked about it is that you had this big open world where you could drive around and go to do other stuff. You had races set up in other places, and the racing, it felt like a mix between what you would see and like, because I tried to play Forza and I can't do it. It's too tight. It's too restrictive. I'm like driving into walls because I can't.
Very Gran Turismo.
It is very, and I'm not good at those games.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it, man. But for this, I rocked it, and I was having so much fun. And I can just like translate what they've already kind of done into a world where now you're not on the ground, you're in the sky. And you can even do like, because I'm thinking, how cool would it be? Like, so you're playing the game, you're doing dogfights, and you're doing this stuff. How cool would it be also to kind of do some like flight races and stuff?
Yeah. I think automatically that's what a lot of people think, because most aerial games, you're either doing like dogfighting, racing, or capture the flag, all that stuff. Yeah.
And I really feel like these guys, with as much work and polish that they put into the Horizon series, man, can you imagine what they could bring to the table? Because yes, it's not a driving game, but they've already proven that they can have a big world with a bunch of stuff to do in it. And also, if you've already had, you know, four rounds now, 10 years, the studio's been around for 12 years. Oh, well, no, 10 years. I'm sorry, 2010. So you have 10 years of developing games. You're telling me that they couldn't figure out how to make just, hey, this vehicle that's on the ground, let's put it up here. And then you're going to be able to have free range of motion with it. I feel like they could do it, and they could make it be really fun to play. And also with as much polish that it would have, because, you know, one thing about Crimson Skies too is that its story is like an alternate history. Like it's completely, it is kind of weird. It's not as weird as maybe like Gunstar Heroes. It's not that wacky, but it almost is, because when you play it, you almost feel like you're in like an Indiana Jones World War II funny haha.
Yeah, they said it's set like in an alternate 1930s.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it kind of has that feel to it, but everything kind of looks different. It has a different look and feel to it. So, you know, there's that part of it, but I feel like Playground could really just kick ass on the gameplay part of it.
Playground Games did convince me to like their racing game, Horizon, because like you said, like it's racing, but it has a little bit more freedom. The fact that like I can drive to the next race instead of like this whole setup going around this circuit. It was more of cross country racing and all this stuff. Yeah. But one thing shout out about Horizon that can definitely help out with Crimson Sky is just the colors. Like Horizon really shows you color. Like it is just beautiful, gorgeous stuff. And Crimson Sky, due to their limitation at the time, the thing it was missing was just very color. It just need more color. Something more bright and not cartoony, just more stuff that just shout out to feel more of that region. And that's what Horizon has done really well with Playground Games. And there was a rumor that they might be working on a Fable game, which that fits them perfectly too, right?
Yes.
Because they can pull off the color. And so, no, that's a wonderful pick. If anybody in the in-house that could probably do it, it can do that, because people that do driving games should do easily well as flight simulator games, right? I would think.
Well, okay, so like you look at like some different games like Diddy Kong Racing or Sonic Racing Transformed, where you do have like, you know, your road and your boats, but also your flight. You know, parts like you'll change racing patterns in the middle of the track, and I've always thought that was really cool. So therefore, just by going up to the to the chalkboard and drawing lines, it's like you should be able to like translate that over. And that's why I thought they would just be a perfect pick for gameplay wise. As far as story, I think I'd probably just do kind of a reboot, like a soft reboot, simply because it's been so long since that first game came out, that like, yes, you know, it's there, but I think you could do like a really good fresh coat of paint on there and just kind of upgrade it just a little bit to the modern way that we tell stories now. You know, try to capture the audience, because number one, you're already going to, just like you said, the colors and the simple like graphics engine they have over there is just jaw dropping. And when you were talking about that, it definitely reminded me when I played that like when it came out, I didn't have my 4K TV or my Xbox One X. So I think tonight when we're done with this episode, I'm going to go download Forza Horizon 4 again and see what that looks like on my TV with the HDR cranked up. Because,
yeah, let me know.
Oh man, because I thought it was great on 1080p. Like I was like, man, this is like one of the best looking games I've ever played. You know? Yeah. And just, I just remember like, because in the very beginning of Forza Horizon 4, it's almost like, it's like a demo, but it's like you're going through different seasons, and so like it would kind of change. So you had the fall, and you had all the color, like the leaves. I'm like, man, this looks awesome. Yeah, I could just imagine what that looks like.
And that's what Xbox has to work on. Like the reason why PlayStation is doing so well is because they're letting their studios evolve, not limiting them to one particular thing. And I think that was their downfall with the Gears company, whatever their company is called, because they're just dedicated to only Gears. And I'm like, maybe that wasn't the best idea, because sooner or later they need to probably do something else, because Gears is basically the kill zone, and they need
well, Gears was made by Epic at first, right? Like Gears 1, 2, 3, and Judgment. Was Judgment made by Epic as well?
Judgment, I want to say yes also. Yeah.
Okay, because now they have like Epic's like, yeah, we're gone. We're gonna go make
Right.
Fortnite and make $1 billion. And Microsoft's like, hey, we're gonna keep the IP, and Epic's like, we don't care, bye. And then so they made their own now in-house dev studio that just makes Gears, and you can definitely tell, they're trying, man. Gears 4 and Gears 5, they, I remember seeing like when they first revealed Gears 4, like, wow, this looks really cool, like
The Coalition, that's what they're called. Go on.
Yeah, Coalition. So like you can see where they're trying, but but it's not even the same team that started it.
Right.
And now Coalition, like as you said, that's their job. Like new Gears games, make them. That's what I'm worried about a little bit with. Like I'm hoping that Phil Spencer's a smart guy over at Xbox. He's really trying hard to evolve the Xbox brand. And definitely he worked really hard to pull it out of the funk that it was at the beginning of this last generation cycle. With the launch of the Xbox One, it was rough, to say the least.
It's exactly the same premise. When Epic left, they left Gears to them to work on next. This is the same way. They let Phil Spencer pick up where the chaos was left, and he has to continue it off. So yeah, and that's the same thing with 343. I mean, same thing. Yeah. Bungie left, they had to pick it up from there. And so, but just because they have to pick it up there doesn't mean they can't explore other ideas, because then they can welcome up new IPs and new ideas. Then you have teams working on two things, new Halo. But hey, this was a big hit. Move that, and I'm hoping that's why Playground Games seems like they might be the first ones to really step out of it. Like, okay, we just don't want to do just racing games. We want to do something else.
Well, and that's exactly why last episode. With the Siphon Filter, I was thinking of San Diego, who they make the show, really good baseball game. Okay, cool. But they've shown that they can make a cool baseball game. Let's see what these guys can do when you challenge them. It's like, all right, guys. Well, and that's another thing, just like we said, like with the growth thing with Guerrilla Games, like we mentioned Killzone earlier, and how they made like 4 Killzone games, and then a couple like the Vita game or whatever. There's a couple different ones. I'm not sure if they were directly involved with that. But after 4 games, they're like, hey, we've kind of had our fill of Killzone. Let's try something different. And they made Horizon, and it was a knockout of the park. Right. It was a great game. And now they're making like a sequel to that, and everybody kind of thought, oh, they're going to make a Killzone game next. No, they're not. They're capitalizing on the success they had with Horizon and making another one. But that's the same thing with Naughty Dog. They did Crash Bandicoot, then they Jack and Daxter, then Uncharted, Last of Us. Well, so what are they going to do next? I'm really excited for them, because with every subsequent series or anything like that, they get better.
Yeah,
and they're introducing new ideas.
Yeah, you can say that with Sucker Punch. You can say that with Insomniac now. Each one don't really stay with the IP very long until mainly until they get to 3 or 4, and it's like, we're moving on. 4th being, it's been a long time, we'll do one more kind of thing, right? So with back to Crimson Sky, I guess my question I want to ask you is, based on the game that really goes through 4 different areas in the game with a big open world in between, is that something you want to stick with? Or is there something you want to add to that? Or is there something you kind of want to alternate about that? Do you have any ideas for that off the top of your head?
I was thinking that since Horizon was such a huge open world with, and of course they did the season so that they were able to capitalize on that same area with different, traversal. But since they've already have had experience at making big, massive maps in open world, I feel like that's what I would do here, and try to encompass those areas. And as far as different, because you can have different areas and have different, just different gameplay styles around them,
Yeah.
So that's what I would do.
Okay. So for me, I decided to go with amping it up. Like there's Crimson Sky has a good idea, and is the only people in the market that has Sky Pirates.
Yeah.
They're the only ones that do Sky Pirate kind of gameplay too. There's not a lot of games that does this kind of aerial kind of style in an alternate 1930s, kind of like more of like an alternate kind of thing. Most people kind of stick with like World War II, whatever. Yeah. And so here, I like the idea of the 1930s. I think it just needs a new fresh coat of paint, kind of update the story a little bit, change some stuff up. Definitely give the characters a little bit more in their stuff, because they were more like, they were definitely second. It was definitely gameplay first, which thank God, and then character second. You could tell from them.
Yeah.
Especially for the Fortune Hunters, I believe they were called. And so I would actually turn it up, and instead of making single player, I would actually go up to maybe 2 to 4 player co-op.
That'd be cool.
So everybody kind of has a share of the pie, just flying around and working together, communicating. And then I would definitely turn up the destruction. This game needs destruction. Like, when you blow up something, stuff needs to explode. It needs to show that you're doing something, not just planes. I'm talking about, like, if you are flying and you actually ram into, like, a building, I want to see glass breaking. Like, if you go through something, I want to see it. Like, make this destructive. I think that'd be amazing.
Almost like what they were wanting to do with Crackdown, with that big, interactive environments where, I think that'd be really neat.
Play with the physics. Have fun with it,
Yeah.
Especially, like, if one of your friends, like, die, I want you to go down with a blaze of glory, Another thing that I think also is a weather system, where we need to see the game go through different weathers. Like, the game, I don't think it was capable at the time, so there really wasn't really any weather change. It was really more just the region that you're in. But I want to see more of, like, I want to see you go through rain. I want to see you go through snow. Like, certain areas that you go to, I want you to deal with that weather. So it just makes it more challenging. Because I want to know how it feels to, like, fly through a rainy thunderstorm, maybe a tornado, while you're fighting. I mean, that's chaos, That's what I want.
Absolutely.
And so I definitely want to see that. I want a little bit more diverse areas for dogfighting on top of that, right? So, like, for instance, like, in the original one, you had the simple, like, you had the desert, you had the canyon, I really want a little bit more. Each area really means something. So, like, my idea was, I really wanted a story where, in this game, of course, they're chasing down a person that killed somebody important to them, a doctor, and whatnot. And so they're going after this person. But I wanted to be across the United States going after in different regions. And if you go to Wikipedia and you look up the map of that map is crazy ridiculous. Like, there are states that merge together. Like, I think that map only has, like, 10 states. And it's all merged together. But I want each region to be really unique in their own way. Like, for instance, like, Utah, like, up in the snowy mountains. Let's get a blizzard going. While you're doing missions and everything like that, the weather change. It'll be calm, then a blizzard comes again. When it's calm, all that. I want it like in the big city. Like, it'd be night or day, I don't care, but heavy rain comes through. And then when it comes to, like, a desert stuff, how cool would it be to take down a base in the Grand Canyon? Like, just bobbing and weaving through the Grand Canyon. That would just be awesome. That reminds me, like, Independence Day. Or or, you know what I mean? But that would just be fun and challenging for that. And then on top of that, I think I really want just more of your upgrades of your planes. Now, they say you can steal planes and you can upgrade planes to a certain extent. I want it where, like, money can also help you recruit more people. So you can recruit more people, help you, like, build more stuff. Like, certain missions will help you get more equipment to build better ship, better guns. Because in this game, it offered Tesla technology, all this stuff. So let's make it big. Let's amp it up a little bit more. Let's get this game to be more ridiculous fun to me. And so the only people I thought that can do that idea, mainly because of destruction and the weather change, is Avalanche Studios. And those are the people that brought you Just Cause and Rage 2. Mm-hmm. And I think they can turn it up a notch, because I think that's what Crimson Sky needs. Like, you got the story, the gameplay, the controls are awesome, but everything needs to be a spectacle. Like, I want to feel like a pirate, and I want to feel like when I'm done, I left a mark in that game. And so,
dude, I think they would kill it.
Yeah,
that's a really good pick, because I think they would really add to the stylized nature of the setting too.
Yeah, because if you look at Just Cause games, it's mainly tropical, but it's still freaking colorful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really want to see what they can do with that on top of, their craziness. So yeah, I think Avalanche can do it. Yeah, and they're not locked down to anybody. They just publish games for people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Absolutely. Hell yeah, man. That's a really good pick. I mean, I wish I would have thought of that. Because because like the moment that you said them, I'm just seeing how unique, like how unique that they have set up with, like, especially like with like Rage 2, and just how it's just different, so different, and that's what this game already was, like in a sense, and maybe that's why like it didn't really latch on with the mainstream. It was because like you said, when you saw the cover of it, you're like, what is this? Kind of like it almost looks like a cover of like what you would see of like a Indiana Jones, or a Lucas or like a Lucasfilm era from like the 80s, you know, for like almost looks like a movie poster for that. And so it doesn't really tell you a whole lot, you know. And so many people buy games based upon just that gut, like, oh, what's this, you know?
Right. So definitely the cover has to be more of a spectacle. It has to be like off the wall crazy. And, Microsoft has the money to really push this, especially with the dogfighting. I think dogfighting, weirdly enough, is coming back sort of way, except for Call of Duty, but, Battlefield's been doing it for a while. The new Star Wars games are coming. I think Dogfight. Yeah, it's coming in some sort of way. And the multiplayer would be something unique because I think the old one had up to 16 players, I think, online that can go at it. So you can do something fun with that in different modes, especially like, you can do like territory, or you can do like destroy each other's like base, mode. I think the multiplayer can really push it. Now, I'm not a big multiplayer person in that kind of aspect, but it would give me more of a thrill if they can just think of something cool to do that with weather always changing while it's going. One moment is sunny, next is rain. They always change it every time. So, yeah,
absolutely, man. Hell yeah,
yeah.
Like that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, but who knows, man? I'm hoping that the two games that we pick will come back in some sort of way. I think Crystal Sky has a moment now. We're going into this next generation. Now would be a time to really mention that we are making it. We don't know how, but we are making it. And hopefully, some great news will happen because Xbox has a chance to kind of give us the reintroduction of Xbox again, like the first one, and just come out with crazy ideas, man. Just come out with crazy ideas. You got to throw out crazy ideas to see what hits again. And that's what they need to do this time. PlayStation been doing it.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Little Big Planet. Who would have thought that would have been anything?
Right. And now those developers are doing Dream.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, for 5 years, it was like, what is this game? What is Dreams? And you're just like, they're like, you can make your own game in our game. What?
Someone's making Crimson Sky in there.
Yeah, I bet you do. I remember seeing somebody made a version of like FF7 remake or something like that in there.
I did see that. I did. I even saw somebody redo the Unreal 5 engine demo in Dreams, and I was like, why are those guys not getting checks right now? Like,
I know.
Grab those people.
I'll tell you what, man. There's a lot of developers who are hiring right now. And for all you guys that are just diddling around with Dreams and you guys are doing all this cool stuff, try it, man. Like, you're never gonna know if you can do it unless you go and put forward, take the risk. And I understand it's not the easiest thing to do, to move across the country to go work for some game developer, and not everybody can just do it. A lot of them are just guys like you and me who just tinker around with stuff and maybe make something cool. But there's a lot of talent out there that's not being utilized.
Yeah. But with that, I want to thank everybody for listening to this exciting episode of the World Gaming Trade Show. But like I said, there's even more episodes on the way, and you got time to catch up quicker if you want to go to the YouTube ones. But remember, this is part of the In-Game Boss program and Network Game and other variety, and part of the Game Addicts podcast. So definitely check out all our shows. You can find me and my shows, of course, on Facebook and Twitter. Just type in the In-Game Boss program. And we have a bunch of other great shows on there that will connect you to our YouTube shows, exclusives, even more shows, because my show is more of a network. But Brandon, where can they find you?
You can go to GameAddictsPodcast.com or search on your favorite podcast platform for Game Addicts Podcast. We're there. If we're not, let me know, and we'll make sure it does. You can reach out on social media at Game Addicts Play on Twitter and Instagram, as well as Facebook. Hit me up on there and follow along, because occasionally I do some live streams for some games. And also we have a YouTube channel, which is basically your one-stop shop for everything we do. The podcast is there. It's a video podcast as well, so you can see my beautiful face, as well as some of the gaming content that I do when I have time to do it.
All right. Well, thank y'all so much, and we will catch you on our next show.